Hello again. So we're back now for number 5 in our tutorials. We're going to do some more information on editing, and I will correct an oversight that I made in the previous video where it seems I left out a kind of a final step. So we'll go back now to VSDC, my video editor, and we're back now at the editing screen. The last point you had seen was essentially here that we had finished the editing of this video. And so now you have test one, first reading intro on the hard drive. You just simply have to move it. But now, what do you do with it here in VSDC? Well, we come up to the menu here for projects, and we tell it to close project. Now, it's not saved. Well, you think, wait a minute, yes, I did save it. Well, you've saved it into an AVI video, which for your editing purposes and for preparing a final video is what you need. Saving it here means saving your project kind of in mid-step so you can come back to it later. And this would be if you were putting together the final video where you were stitching together a series of videos and you had to quit for whatever reason before you were ready to export the final product, then you could save it and thus return to it. But since we're working just on short pieces, then at this point you want to say no. So we're back to the menu of VSDC, and my apologies for having left that one out. So now, a couple other issues that you may want to be able to provide for. So we're going to go back to import content. This time, we're going to go back to my folder St. Michael's videos because I need to go back to an earlier service. So we're going to go to last week's, from when I'm recording this video, which is Sunday, November 29th. And here you see a long string of them. Down here, like I said, are the ones that have the A prefix, and they're numbered in order. So I simply have to stitch them together. And then the final versions simply have the number. And then I take these and put them together into the final video. But right now we're looking at how to take a video that needs a little bit more work. So we're going to take this one. Rejoice, Rejoice Believers is the closing hymn for our service on November 29th. And we're going to open this. So we'll make that test 2. Now, resolution is 640 by 480. Well, Claudia Horn, our organist and pianist and music director, records these on her tablet, and that's as high as her tablet can go. That's just fine. But we need the video we're going to produce to be in full HD. And we need our frame rate again bumped up to 30 frames per second. So we're going to click to finish. And so here we are. We see the white letterboxing effect on either side of the video. Now it's perfectly acceptable like this, but by clicking on these bars, we can shrink it down. If you wanted to display a page of, scan a page out of your hymnal and insert it here, Again, making sure that you have the necessary permission to do it. YouTube and Facebook are both very sensitive to intellectual property rights because they're getting seriously breathed on. They're overreacting on how they're handling it, but anyway, I digress. So we shrink this one. We can shrink this down. I typically put in music underneath it. I do have a license. St. Michael's has a license permit to do that and to cover the fact that she is playing it and we're posting it online. So obviously for hers, we need to take off a bit from the front and a bit from the end, but we covered that in the last video. So as you just saw, she hit play on her she hit record on her tablet and then turned back and began to play. So that little bit between her pressing record on her tablet and when she gets her hands into position over her keyboard, we don't need for the final video. So we trim that out. Likewise, if we move to the end, not quite far enough. There we go. You see she stops and then turns to stop her tablet recording. We would need to shave that part out as well. But for this video, for this tutorial, we need to look at something else. If you've never been in Claudia's living room where her piano is, you won't know this, but this video is recorded in mirror image. Claudia's tablet reverses the video when it records it. So I have to undo that. So we come up here again to Editor. I click there. Now I want this one down here. That is a wrench inside a green circle. I want to click the down arrow here. It says More Tools. I click that little down arrow, and I want this option, Horizontal Flip. There, that's better. So now, we will play forward. I need to grab my earphone here because I don't hear the sound that you hear. So there, she has just finished the introduction of it. And now I insert a bar that has the melody line on it and the words. So I come up here to this image, which is a picture. And when I put the mouse pointer over it, it says Add Image. And here I've set them up as a series of graphics in a separate folder. So I click to that folder and I come to number 1. I tell it to open. Now in this case, I could go from cursor position, but I find it better to select manual position. I tell it lock start position. Don't let that one change. Although I can override that later if I need to. I just don't want it to do it. Now, layer position. This is like stacking one layer on top of another. So insert to layer means it will put it down here at the end, or it will break the video and insert it here. Mostly it's going to put it at the end, despite what I've told it here. So I want to add new layer. And there you see is a bar that runs the whole length of the video from the point where I've told it to start. Now I'm going to come back here to the end, and I'm going to scroll that back because I don't need that whole line going, this one line of music going the full length of the video. On the next frame, I'll show you another way to do this. But first off, we need to right-click over the image. You could do it anywhere on the video, anywhere on this video frame, because it's basically a full screen frame, most of which is transparent. That's simply how VSDC treats it. We come down here to properties, just like when we were changing the audio level. Now the property window looks a little different. So we see that our time, we started at 12.366, and we have a duration of 10.3 seconds. And here we have the width and height. Like I said, it treats this as if it's a full frame, so you don't want to mess with that. But to slide it down, despite the fact that it's full frame, 0 is here at the center, not an upper corner or a bottom corner. So we want to slide this down. We want to slide the whole frame down 410 pixels. Now I know that from trial and error. So if you were doing it on your own video, then you would have to simply experiment. And the nice thing is that you don't have to close your property window. So we'll go back to 0, and you click right down here in the blank area, and it applies it. So if you guessed at 200 and you clicked it, well, then you see that. Then you could click at 300 and so on. I just have found that 410 gets it almost to the bottom. I'm also thinking about people who project these up on their TV screens. And in that case, you lose a little bit off each side of the frame, both not only side to side, but also top to bottom. So I try not to squeeze it all the way to the very bottom of the frame. So now we can come back over here and click play. Now we stop. Again, we left click over the very end of the bar that says 01-1 and scroll back. Now, unfortunately, our properties window shrunk down on us, but we'll go back into it. This is the reason that I like to use 30 frames per second. It means that for each tenth of a second, from 8.9 to 9.0, there are 3 frames. So the first one here is at 9.00. Means the next frame is 9.33. And then the frame after that would be 9.66. And then you would roll over to 9.0. Obviously, that doesn't exactly add up, but it's close enough. So now we click down here in the blank area and the video reappears. Now we can close out our properties window. We come back up here to add image. We click on number 2. Again, we tell it manual position, lock the start position. Now here, I'm going to change duration. This 1 minute 44.566 seconds takes it to the very end of the video. So I'm going to change it to 12 seconds because that gives me a long enough bar that even when I stop it, when I reach the end of this particular musical phrase, then I can still reach the end of the bar. It won't be too close to the indicator line here. This time, however, I will leave it at insert to layer because it's going to follow this video. It's going to follow this graphic. So I click OK, and you see. So now we come back up into the bar, into the graphic here, and we right click, and we go to Properties. We go to the line for top. We change that to 410. And then we click down in the blank area to apply it. And so there it is. So now I'll move back here to the very end of her introduction. So then we would stop, and we slide that back. And then just as I did before, we would go into Properties, advance to the next frame. In this case, it means changing the duration to 8.466. Click in the blank space, and there it is. I do it simply because it's convenient to members of my congregation who enjoy being able to sing along. If you're with another congregation, you don't need this, then you don't have to worry about it. However, you might well want to be able to put in the entire hymnal page. You need to consider, though, whether your people are, how are they watching this? Are they looking at it simply Are they looking at it simply on their cell phones, on the tablets, or are they looking at it on a larger screen like a computer, or are they casting it onto their TV? If they're using a big screen, then putting the full text in and giving them an indication of how to take the YouTube video and blow it to full screen. That will work. If most of your people are watching it on a cell phone, then trying to put in a full page of text is probably not going to work so well for you. So you need to consider your audience. But if you were doing, if you wanted to put a title card underneath your pastor, I have a subtitling program I use to help me do that, but that takes a couple of steps. If you just want to do it quickly, you can go into Paint and simply make it, white text on a black background and then make it just small. You would put it in here and then shrink it down into the size and the position you wanted, and then leave it up for 5 to 10 seconds, and then have it disappear. If you wanted to put in the text of a prayer, you could do the same thing. It's going to depend on your video. Do you have a place to put it where you can read it and it's not obstructing the speaker? Maybe it doesn't work below, but if you have room on the side, certainly a possibility. Then, of course, we would go up here to export. So I'm not going to deal with that. I'm going to come back to Editor. Then I'm going to go to projects and I'm going to say close, simply because I was doing this as an example. So I think that's going to bring us to the end of this tutorial. I think that has covered the basics of how to edit, things you might want to do. There's a lot of different features that are available in VSDC, but I'm not going to go over all of them. I certainly don't use them all. Uh, but if there's something that comes up and you think, how do I do this? Just a quick Google search. You don't remember how to change the size of it. Well, okay, how do I do that? You can also skew the video image if the camera is a little crooked and you need to change it. Okay, you do the rotate. Yeah, there's an option uh, under video effects for rotating. Uh, just simply VSDC rotate image. And you'll find plenty of things, plenty of options for how to get stuff done like that. Maybe how to clean up an image if it's kind of messy. Um, there is supposedly a Steadicam image. You can, if somebody's really wobbly, you are supposed to be able to stabilize it. I found it doesn't work very well though. So try to encourage people not to take their video with somebody else holding the camera by hand. Have it on a table, stacked on books, on a tripod, whatever's available to them. But I hope that these two tutorials in particular give you the very basics of what you need to do. Um, I will have just one more on video editing, and that's going to show you how to put together the final product, and then we'll look at uploading it. So thank you for your patience, and I hope that this one too will prove helpful to you. Thank you very much.